Today I was going to talk about Ficus Salicaria. It was Ficus negrifolia and Ficus salicifolia. These are other different ficuses that I have here at the nursery. Salicaria is the willow leaf ficus. A lot of you, like I said, know it as salicifolia. These are some of them that I've been growing for only a couple years. We've cut them back, usually twice a year. You can see they do get good trunks fairly quickly. And some of these are actually root cuttings from considerably older material. That is how I like to get really quality, interesting trees. You can also take a tree like this one. I'd grown it about 2 feet tall, cut it back, and then grew it out another 2 feet tall, cut it back. And they get this, they develop like a caudex at the base, really fantastic. And underneath, like a typical ficus, the roots get thicker. You can expose more and more of that trunk and just have a fantastic piece of material. They do take a while to really get going up north. My dad lives up in Michigan, and up there they would have a real hard time getting that kind of trunk in only 4 or 5 years. But getting root cuttings, which these are, is another great way to get just fantastic material. The problem is, to get root cuttings like this, you have to grow the actual material quite a long time. The material that I got this from, these are about 25 years old, and have these fantastic thick roots that we can use. But this is what they start with. This is last year's cutting. 1 year old. And again, that one's a root cutting. The actual roots are probably 5 or 6 years old before we cut them. And this is what I was talking about, just growing them straight. We'll just grow this up large for a few years to get this base going. And we'll just let this grow unrestricted until this gets to the thickness that I want. And then I'll cut it all the way to here. Cut it all the way down to a stump. You can see they backbud very easily. We'll cut it and then grow it out for another season, and then cut it slightly higher, then grow it out for another season, cut it out slightly higher. By the third cut, they have fantastic taper. We usually are looking for a 6-to-1 ratio, especially when we're growing them as stock. And that's how you get good material. Really, down here, we can get some really nice Shohin material in 5 to 6 years. Some of the larger stuff takes considerably longer. These ones are 20 to 25 years old. They were just cut hard to align and put in bonsai pots. That's how you get really nice material with fantastic bases, is you just grow it on and take your time. Grow it on, cut it back. Grow it on, cut it back. And they do have this nice amount of area roots that will issue, and over time they'll fuse to increase that base. But these guys look really bare because they were cut down from about 3 to 4 feet down to a foot for a class that we're doing. We're actually doing this class in September or October. In this class, they'll be completely reworked, and all these little branches that are here now will be wired down and shaped to style this tree. You can see, if you look closely, you can see that it is, I don't know if you can see that or not, but it is backbudding everywhere from when I put it in this pot. By the time we do that class, right now we're in April, these will be a solid, dense hedge like the little ones that I showed you over there. And they'll be ready to be cut back again and completely reworked and made into a more refined bonsai at that point. But here's some other ones. Again, these are what you get down here in Central Florida. If you're down in South Florida, you can get this even quicker. If you were in the tropics, you know, this could happen in lightning fast. And in we put a product called Sun Coat, which is labeled here for Florida. put it in the beginning of the season, and then every month I load it out with organics. Put different types of organics. There's a few products on the market. We use a Bonsai green. We've used mean green in the past, BioGold. Any good granular organic works very well. I only use organics on my black pines and azaleas and live oaks, but the ficuses I'll also put liquid or chemical granular fertilizer on there on a regular basis, because they just seem to love it. The more you feed them, the faster they grow in this heat. We get about 95 to 100 degrees for about 4 months here in the summer, and they just thrive in it. They just they're almost a semi-succulent, so they're very drought tolerant. So when I repot, like the big ones that I just showed you, if I cut a whole bunch of heavy roots off like these, I'll actually keep them in partial shade and not water them for 2 or 3 days, just like we would with a succulent. And then I'll take them and put them out in the full sun. If you notice, there was one great big one that didn't have any foliage on it. That was the only one that the foliage dried off. And if you look really closely at that, you'll actually see new growth popping. They're just a fantastic tree for bonsai. It's something that we've been doing down here quite extensively for the last few years, and it's really coming into its own. Now, this right here is actually a root cutting that was really large, that was put down into the ground. This is going to be a clump at this point because it sprouted multiple spots. Here's another root cutting. Most of these shoots will cut off and it'll be a really low, wide, fat little tree. But they're one of those that tolerate a lot of abuse. Thanks for looking. I'll see you later, and we'll talk about a different variety. Thanks.